Hello everyone, thanks for checking out my channel, A Square Pillow Isn't Square. This is where you will learn anything and everything you wanted to know about home dec sewing. Today we're going to talk about how versatile stripes are when you're doing home dec projects. And since we're still in our pillow section of our videos, we're going to talk about how you can get 4 different looks from one striped fabric. You can see here that I have a nice symmetrical kind of large scale stripe, and as you can see there is the obvious way to use it, which is just strictly cut out your pillow front and back either vertically or horizontally on your fabric. But I'm going to show you 2 other really interesting ways to use the striped fabric, where you can use one fabric and get all different kinds of accent pillows for your home that all coordinate perfectly. So we're going to focus on these 2 designs that require 4 different pieces of fabric to make each of these designs. First thing you're going to do is make a pattern, just a square pattern out of a piece of craft paper, butcher paper, wrapping paper, whatever you've got, and you're going to make that pattern 2 inches bigger than you want your finished cover to be. Then you're going to want to draw a line from corner to corner as shown, and then mark the edges as I've shown you here with little arrows. So when you cut this pattern apart, you'll remember which is the outside edge and which is the inside edge. First, we're going to start with the picture frame design. You're going to take the pieces that you've cut apart, and you're going to take the edge that you've marked as your outside edge, and you're going to line all 4 of these pieces up on an identical part of your fabric. It's really important that you put these pattern pieces on the exact same part of the fabric so that when you go to sew them together, your patterns will line up correctly. Okay, now go ahead and cut them out. Now, if you want to make the back the same as the front, you need 4 more pieces for the back. And if you've got a nice symmetrical mirror image pattern, you can save fabric by laying the 4 pieces for your back side like this. But for this demonstration, I'm actually going to make the back differently. So I'll leave my 4 pieces cut out in the picture frame design, and I'm going to show you how to lay the pattern on the fabric to cut out the 4 pieces for the cross design. What you're going to do here is you're going to mark the middle of your pattern the way that I've shown you, and you're going to line that center up on whatever you want to be the main accent design of your fabric. Here I've chosen the dark blue stripe. Again, make sure that they are lined up exactly straight and exactly the same so your pattern matches when you sew them together, and go ahead and cut those 4 pieces out. Now lay your 4 pieces that you've cut out for each design in the correct order and fold 2 of them right sides together on top of the other pair as I've shown you in this picture. When you fold them together, you'll see that the patterns line up. If you've cut them out correctly on your fabric, you're going to go ahead and just pin these 2 edges together and take it over to the sewing machine where we are going to sew each of these seams together. Make sure you just double check your pattern matching along the way as you go. Now press open your seam allowances so that each of your pillow sides looks like this. Flip them over right side up, and now just like before, you're going to take each half and fold them right sides together, one on top of each other. Take them to your machine where you will again line up your seam line in the center and you will line up your edges matching your patterns as perfectly as you can. You can use pins to hold them in place if you want to, like this. and you will sew your seam together. If you're very careful and go very slowly, you can sew right over your pins. Or if you're comfortable and feel like your fabric isn't going to slip around or move, you can pull your pins out. On this edge, you can see I can tell my patterns are lining up really well. Double check. I'm not even going to use pins on this half. I'm just going to go ahead and finish sewing my seam. Now go ahead and press those seam allowances open so it looks like this. Flip it over and double check that you've lined everything up the way that you want it, that it looks perfect, and you're almost there. The last thing I do before I put the front and back together and finish the pillow is I double check my measurement and make sure that it did come out to be the correct size. If you add 2 inches to your pattern, like we talked about in the beginning, and you use 1/2 inch seam allowances at the most, it's almost always going to come out exactly the right size as it does here. But if you notice that it is a little bit too big or a little bit too small, you can just make a note to make up that difference when you're sewing it closed. Use a little bit smaller seam allowances or a little bit bigger seam allowances, and go ahead and put your front and back together. Okay, now just put your front and back right sides together. Line up your seams and pin them together so that they line up nicely when your pillow is sewn together. Also, if you made your front and back the same, not a reversible different front and back like I did here, but if your front and back are actually the same design, this is also where you're just going to line up your patterns and pin them in place, just like you did when you put your pieces together. And that way, when you turn your pillow right side up, your pillow pattern will also line up on the edges of the pattern, which will look really cool. If you need instruction on how to finish sewing your pillow closed, inserting your pillow form, putting a zipper in the opening, or machine sewing the opening closed, I have several videos that address those particular things. Please check them out. And I would love to see if you guys do any of these projects. I'd love for you to post pictures of your striped pillows and let me see what you've made. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you saw, please subscribe to my channel and make sure you click your notifications bell so you know whenever I post new videos. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day and happy sewing.